OG Anunoby finally gets an all-defensive selection. And could JJ Redick be the next head coach of the Toronto Raptors? This is Hoop Talks. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Hoop Talks. I'm, of course, Justin Pooni, joined with Jelani Goodridge-Reid, Crina Mustafa, and Noor Zainab. Guys, a lot of interesting news dropped in the last 24 hours about the Toronto Raptors, and we're, of course, going to dive into it all. But let's start off with some positive news, some relief on Raptors fans with whatever that was right there. Ignore that.
That implies there's some bad news coming later.
There's always some bad news, right? We'll start with the good news first. I don't even know what's bad news.
Exactly.
It's news. We'll see. It's news.
It's news.
But OG Anunoby was announced to the all-defensive second team, his first all-defensive nomination. And he joins an elite list of groups. If we want to see the full defensive team's breakdown here, we have, of course, the first team all-defensive team was with Jaren Jackson, Defensive Player of the Year, kind of, you know, self-explanatory.
Given, yeah.
Drew Holiday of the Milwaukee Bucks, Brook Lopez of the Milwaukee Bucks, Evan Mobley of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Guys, Scotty Barnes, defenders. How do you feel about that? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. And Alex Caruso of the Chicago Bulls round out the first team. As we move to the second team, Derek White from the Boston Celtics, Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors, OG Anunoby, as I did mention, Dylan Brooks, everybody's favorite player. Crina's guy, Dylan Brooks, her favorite player.
This narrative?
And Bam Adebayo round out the all-defensive team. Now, Noor, I'm going to start with you first because you have been the biggest OG Anunoby defender, maybe to a fault in some instances.
To a fault? He just won. What do you mean to a fault?
What?
Defensive player.
He got selected.
Second.
He didn't win us. He was selected.
Okay, that's literally winning something.
Okay.
He has.
We're not here
to get
into the technicals of the English language because I know that's not your strong suit. But let me start off with you first. What does this mean for OG and all the work he's put on the defense side of the ball? Now he's finally getting the recognition that he deserves amongst NBA circles.
Long time coming. A very long time coming. And you know what's crazy to me? It's the fact that this is the second. The Raptors have always known to be a team that value and build their foundation. They bring the players in who actually show that they want to play on the defensive end. We've had coaches who tell players, if you're not going to play defense, you're not going to be on the court. Sorry, like enjoy the bench. Unless you give me any effort, you'll be there. That's why we saw Stanley Johnson minutes with Nick Nurse all the time, because he loved his defense. He might not get a shot off for his life, but he can defend. And OG has always been one of our best. On a team full of defenders, he's been your best defender. So the fact that this is coming now sucks, and this is long overdue. I think it's because the league saw that, oh shit, he's actually drawing a ton of interest at the trade deadline. All these teams want him. They want to sacrifice their first rounder, second rounder, three, four of them.
First rounders.
3-4 of them exactly, and they're like, well, we can't ignore him anymore, and we got to. And they can't, because he led the league in steals, which is one of the most important categories that people look at. He's constantly defending the best player on the other team. He defends 1 through 5, is versatile. And let's look at the players that he defends, all right? When he was defending Jokic, he had 2 points. Kawhi had 9 points. AD had 4 points. DeRozan had 3 points. And Bradley Beal went 2 of 12 with 6 points the whole night, though. Anytime OG Anunoby was on him. It's a long time coming.
Now, Crina, when you look at OG's game, right, you took the offense, I think, is going to be capped. There's going to be a 16 to 18 point per game player. But do you see that, or do you believe that he can improve his defensive game even more and maybe potentially become a first team all defensive player in the next couple years?
Absolutely, and I think we've seen flashes of that. I mean, if you think about the last Raptor to make the all-defensive team, I think it was Kawhi, and he wasn't
the only other Raptor actually to make
the rental.
The greatest rental in NBA history.
No one's denying that.
And honestly, I think like making second team might be an extra motivation to do even better, because we saw like Precious Achiuwa and like other Raptors players post like, oh, you should have made first team. But at the same time, maybe this means that OG's newly motivated to be like, I want to make first team, and maybe that helps him improve his game even more.
Now, Jelani, I got to ask this question. And I specifically asked it to you because I didn't want them to answer this question because they were going to probably yell at me and scream at me for asking this question. No, I'm looking at for my own personal safety here on camera. Right. Now, look, so we know OG is one of the hottest commodities at the NBA trade deadline.
I knew it.
Right? So here's what I'm saying, right? He was second team all defense. His values increased even more. Come on now, Masai. You know the value's there. Do they trade? Can they trade OG Anunoby now in the offseason?
Can they? Yeah.
Or should they? Should they? Should they trade him?
Walking on thin ice right now, Jelani.
Come on. The reason I asked you because I saw their faces when I asked this question.
I don't even think that him being on this team will increase the value, to be honest with you. I don't think so. So I don't think I'm getting what was offered at the trade deadline, right? Remember the multiple picks that we could have been given. So I would say no, because I just don't see the price being as high as it once was. And
so you think the price is not going to be 3 first-round picks anymore?
I don't. And I know he made this team, right? I know he's the steals leader, the first in defensive win shares for the Raptors, all that sort of thing. But I just don't think it was as high as it once was, because I told you guys, we're not going to see OG's market be like it was close to the deadline. So at this point, I think that he's going to remain a Raptor. I think they trust OG's development. Over the years, we've seen him improve. We've seen the offense also be there at times this season. So I think they're going to keep him, to be honest with you.
Also, you mentioned defensive win shares, because I have his stats on Basketball Reference pulled up here. He had 2.9 this season, which is the most since 2019-2020 season, where he had 3.7. So it's better than the last 2 seasons, but like you said, not as good as it once was.
So you think that if, say, the Memphis Grizzlies, for example, Noor, they pick up the phone, they call Masai Ujiri, like, hey, look, we need a defensive.
No,
we need
let me stop you.
No. Let me finish the question.
Let
me finish the question.
You're wasting your breath.
If Memphis offers whatever picks they have, maybe a piece like Brandon Clark or whatever,
the time
right?
Of the show by even explaining the whole.
Would you
question.
At least entertain offers on OG?
No.
Okay.
No, and this is why. Because
Masai said the teams everybody else
because
is
if
available.
other teams want him, it's because they understand his value by building a contender with young guys. That's what the Grizzlies wanted him. And if the Raptors want to go down that route, why would you trade him to get 3 draft picks, so then one day hope one of them turns into OG Anunoby?
I wouldn't trade him, but I'm gonna field some calls. I
would
entertain it. I would entertain it.
If the offer is good enough, why wouldn't you say yes?
But I just don't think the offer is gonna be as good.
Okay.
But I'm gonna listen. If there's a team out there, I'll listen.
Real quick, let me ask you this though.
Asking me a question.
What was the point of having OG all these years and trying to develop him into one of the main guys?
Exactly.
If you're just gonna give him away for whatever picks you get, like Noor said, not guaranteeing.
Because what is this team? What is this team doing with OG Anunoby here? What?
Because if you're building,
in my opinion.
No, you asked me the question. Let me answer the question, okay? Look where the Toronto Raptors are right now. Right? Masai Ujiri said when they fired Nick Nurse, basically said that everybody's job is in jeopardy, right? The only people that we know are safe is Scotty Barnes for sure and Jeff Dowden Jr., right? Everybody else, that's what Masai said at his press conference. Did he not say that?
He did.
Am I wrong? That's exactly what he said.
It's just funny
when you look at this team, right? You look at the landscape of the Eastern Conference. A guy like OG Anunoby can bring pieces in that can help you level up your talent, right? Ime Udoka said he would not want to coach this team because why? They cap out what a 5th place team. Becky Hammond has not brushed off the Raptors. The Raptors don't have enough talent here to attract coaches even, right? I want to see the talent pool increase. If a guy like OG Anunoby can bring draft picks in who have a higher ceiling than players that they have right now.
That's a tricky
tricky
sentence.
But you know what OG Anunoby is. He's going to be a 16 to 18 point player. He's going to be an all defensive second team player, a great defensive player for sure, right? But what else? Can you get more?
But I think that you value a guy that can play defense like that.
But what do you do with the rest?
Did you not hear what I just said? He's defending the best player on the teams right now. He's young.
I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
But I still would value. I'm saying two sides of basketball, right? So I value that defense.
Absolutely.
You're not going to find that anywhere else.
I'm not brushing off the defense whatsoever. I'm saying he's a great defender in the NBA.
Right.
He's an all NBA defensive player, right? What I'm saying is though, a piece like that is so valuable across the NBA,
right, and that's why
teams are gonna want to acquire him.
That's why trade deadline you could have. That was the time. If there was any time to do it, that was the time. But now I just don't see it.
But
I don't
also,
see it anymore.
if he fits the direction that you want to go in, he fits the timeline with Scotty Barnes, a younger team, right? Younger guys. So if that's the case, why would you move again? Like, why would you move him off your future? You don't need to build around OG. OG is an asset on your team. He's going to be the guy that defends the best player. Why would you now give him up to the other team so he can lock you down? And you hope one day when you get the draft pick 5 years from now, he can amount to what OG Anunoby is currently? It doesn't. It's
because, again, it all depends. It all depends on the coach that comes in, right? What coach comes in? Do they want OG Anunoby a part of this team, right? The way I see it is this. you want to build for the future, right? Masai's talked about developing young players. You're going to have to acquire more younger players, right? They don't have as much draft capital as they would want to bring in young players. A guy like OG could bring you a lot of draft capital and high-end young talent, right? That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to trade him, right? I'm saying if somebody picks up the phone like Portland and they're like, hey, we have a lottery pick, we'll give you Shaden Sharp or we'll give you whatever.
That's why I entertain
right?
the calls.
You would entertain the call and you have to have a conversation about it. Now, if you want to pull the trigger on the deal or not, that's up to Masai. But I'm saying you at least have to have that discussion and that thought process of, okay, if we can get this and this for this certain player to help the long-term sustainability of this franchise, a team that's right now a mid-level team in the Eastern Conference, if we can increase our talent pool and end up becoming a top 2 seed in the Eastern Conference in a couple of years and have a longer term sustainable success, you have to look at that option.
I think Masai already answered that call and he shut those calls down. So we're having a hypothetical conversation right now. He made his stance clear. He's keeping OG.
I just say wait till the coach.
Yeah.
Just wait till the coach comes
He was being offered all these picks and he said no. So his stance is pretty clear now.
But they were waiting.
Talks about a coach.
Let's talk about
it.
Okay, but the last thing I want to say about that point is
let's talk about
they wanted to make the play in, right? That's why they didn't trade anybody. They wanted to get one last kick at the can, and now they didn't do it.
What an L move, in my opinion.
Thank you. Anyway, speaking of head coaches and all that fun stuff, we got some news on the Toronto Raptors coaching front. Guys, just take it easy.
You were the one
Just take it easy. Chill out. It's basketball at the end of the day.
You're a gaslighter too. It's
We're all
guys, take it easy.
Take it easy. Look, I get a little fired up.
Seen.
Anyway, let's pull up the quote from Sportsnet's Michael Grange wrote an article about the Toronto Raptors and their head coaching search. I'll read this for you guys. Then there are some wild cards with former Raptors head coach Dwayne Casey. Wow. Thought to have registered interest, and one source suggests that Toronto has looked into the possibility of veteran NBA sharpshooter turned podcaster turned broadcaster JJ Redick, who has spoken openly about the possibility of getting into coaching as being head coach material. And now, before we recorded, Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN confirmed that the Raptors did indeed interview JJ Redick.
That's crazy.
Holy Crina. I know this topic is really grinding your gears right now. It's really, you're really fired up about it. So give me your immediate thoughts on this news.
My immediate thoughts was that there's not a lot of substance to any head coaching stuff right now, which is why I'm kind of iffy on talking about it, especially when it originally came from one sentence in an article that was about Becky Hammon.
That's true.
Yeah, and that article came out yesterday. And all of a sudden, somebody decided to read it this morning and was like, "Oh, let me see this one sentence and blow it up and make a graphic." And now everybody's
clickbait today.
And all of a sudden, Woj is tweeting that he got interviewed.
You're welcome. You're welcome, NBA Universe.
You didn't do it, but okay.
I would be surprised if it was.
Listen. I know JJ wants to get into head coaching. He'd probably be really good at it. But I'm kind of just thinking, it's kind of something you said before. If your coach is the best sharpshooter on your team, then you have a problem. Yeah. Like you said, it all comes down to the roster. I want to see what they're willing to do with the roster itself before I even think about the head coach.
It's going to be like, coach sent me in, but coach is like, no, I'm subbing myself
exactly.
in. Now, I'm coming over.
Noor, is it smart for the Raptors to go with a unproven, never coached before coach, or would you like to see somebody with a bit more experience?
I think we've seen with the thing is JJ Redick is not short of experience. He has NBA experience.
I meant coaching experience.
No, I know. I'm saying he understands how to work a locker room, right? And that again is a very an identifiable part of when it comes to coaching, because people forget the part that where you have to also maintain a culture, and I think that's what he would be really good at. Even when he was parts of teams, he was a veteran there, and he understood how to just manage egos and people and personalities, and he learned to do that too. Exactly. And I think people will respect him for that. Like the players will have his respect, no problem. It's just on the coaching end, like we haven't seen anything. We don't know much about it. Do I think he'll be set up for success sooner than later? Yeah, absolutely. But do I want it to be the Raptors? No, not really. Not really.
Now, Jelani, me and you both love JJ on First Take. We love it when he gives it to Stephen A. Smith on a daily basis. If he's the head coach of the Raptors, will Stephen A. suddenly become a Raptors fan? No,
You know that already. He said this guy does not want to see a championship back in Toronto.
No,
he said that.
Real talk. JJ is one of the smartest basketball minds out there, right? And as you guys mentioned, he's a former NBA player, not far removed from his NBA playing days, is really relatable, played against some of these guys on the Raptors. Jelani, do you think that could, if they do end up going down, and that's a huge if, that could be a huge selling point for not only just the current Raptors, but players in general, oh, I want to, JJ's an awesome guy. I want to play for JJ. Do you think that could be a positive for the Toronto Raptors?
I think so. He's gaining some traction. He's gaining some, huge following since he's been, a broadcaster and things of that nature. People respect his voice. So, and look, Masai talked about we need somebody who has a voice that will, help this culture out. So you never know with JJ. And we have seen examples of guys who've never had coaching experience before. Look at Isaiah Thomas, Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr, he was in the front office, but was never a coach, right? Steve Nash, I know that didn't work. You have Mark Jackson, for example, right? So you've seen it before, Derek Fisher. So it's possible. It's possible that it might happen. I'm just kind of shocked, right? That, again, this was a Becky Hammond article, right? And this came out, so I was kind of shocked by it. And look, I'm a North Carolina fan, so I don't know how I would feel with a Duke Blue Devil being my head coach.
Now, I want to say this as well before we wrap up this great segment. It's actually been an awesome segment. I love the energy from everybody today.
Yes.
Everybody's all fired up.
Yeah.
You're welcome for firing you guys up. I just want to mention this. It's the NBA offseason when toxic cryptic tweets are being dropped. Fred VanVleet this morning dropped, we are all on borrowed time.
One bookmark.
What does this mean? I actually, that was me. I bookmarked it, yeah. I'm probably going to tweet that out later tonight, actually.
Yeah, you probably are.
Guys, what do you think Fred means by this? We're all on borrowed time. Let's turn up the rumor mill. Fred VanVleet. I say Fred's going to Phoenix.
Okay, listen.
Fred's going to Phoenix.
I think he's just in his feels this morning and was just kind of being philosophical about life in general. And we are just pulling apart his tweet for no reason.
I honestly don't know. It might be about something random.
We are on borrowed time, technically.
I mean, listen. I want to say this is just something that you shouldn't look into, but at the same time, they know what they're doing when they put out tweets like that. Like, look at the infamous, what's his name?
LeBron?
No, it was the I don't want to be here anymore.
Oh, Eric
Bledsoe. So yeah, see, like all those, like
that was pretty direct though.
It was very direct, but then he deleted it right afterwards too, and it cost him. And then he left the organization right after. So it's like they know what they're doing, and they can easily be like, oh, it doesn't mean anything. But at the same time, it's like you can say that, but it could have given the message to someone that you wanted to send the message to, but we don't know who that is. Hey, so that's all I'll say.
Fred had a great episode on JJ's podcast. They have a nice report together. I think they were great. Head coach starting point guard come for the Toronto Raptors next year. JJ Redick and Fred VanVleet. You heard it here first on Hoop Talks. We'll catch you all later.